The events in Dublin on November 21st, 1920 marked a turning point in the Irish War of Independence. The last few months of 1920 witnessed assassination, reprisal and counter-reprisal as the War of Independence became more intense and brutal. Early on the morning of Sunday, November 21st, IRA volunteers directed by Michael Collins assassinated 14 suspected British intelligence agents in their boarding houses and hotel rooms in the centre of Dublin. Later that afternoon, the Dublin Castle authorities sent a mixed force of RIC, auxiliary police and military to search for arms in Croke Park, where 10,000 spectators had gathered for a football match between Tipperary and Dublin. The original order was that the military forces would surround all exits and that every male would be searched. The game threw in at 3:15. 10 minutes later, a plane flew overhead and almost immediately shots were fired from the southwest corner of the ground. In the panic and mayhem that followed, 14 civilians, including 3 young children, a woman who was due to be married a few days later, and a Tipperary player, were killed and over 70 were injured. This day became known as Bloody Sunday. The Remembering Bloody Sunday exhibition at the GAA Museum in Croke Park provides a factual account of the events of November 21st, 1920, from the early morning events right through to the tragic events here in Croke Park that afternoon, but also to what happened in the aftermath of Croke Park, the inquiry that took place into the deaths of 14 civilians here in the stadium. We have on display a range of material from artefacts, photographs, newspaper reports, documents that tell the story of what happened on Bloody Sunday. We also have personal items that were either worn by a victim or somebody who was in attendance, or a personal effect that they had on that day when the tragic events took place in Croke Park. We also have material that relates to the aftermath of the event, including the witness statements from the military inquiry into what happened here, and we've turned those into audio recordings so that as visitors make their way through the exhibition, the audio recordings are playing in the background, telling the story, first-hand story of what happened in Croke Park on November 21st. So we have the original match ticket, and we also have the whistle that was used by the referee, Mick Salmon from Kildare, who was the referee for all of 10 minutes on that day, which was all that the match lasted. And the original match ticket is one of very few that now remain, and we have it on display here as part of the exhibition. One item that stands out is a coat that was worn by Tom Hogan. Tom Hogan was only 19, he was from Limerick. He attended the match that day and he got a bullet wound through the shoulder, and he was actually the last person to die, the last victim of Bloody Sunday. He passed away on Friday, the 26th of November, so 5 days after Bloody Sunday. In addition to the coat, in the pocket of the coat, there was a box of cigarettes and a box of matches. The box of cigarettes hadn't even been opened, so it's likely that Tom Hogan purchased these on the way into the ground, and little did he realise, or did any of the others realise, the fate that awaited them. Another noteworthy item is a commemorative medal. We actually have 2 of them on display. One was awarded to Bill Ryan from Tipperary, the other was awarded to Tom Ryan from Tipperary. But all of the players from Dublin and Tipperary that took part in a commemorative match 1 year after Bloody Sunday. So on the first anniversary of Bloody Sunday, a match took place here between Dublin and Tipperary. It was again refereed by Mick Salmon, and all those players who took part received a very unusual gold medal, a commemorative medal. And again, these are quite scarce, but we're very lucky that we have 2 of them on display as part of this exhibition. We wouldn't have been able to put together this exhibition without the generosity of individuals and indeed other institutions who were very generous in lending us material and listening to our requests for information and for material related to Bloody Sunday. And we've material on display that has never before been on public display. And I'm thinking in particular of items that have been in family collections and individual collections for almost 100 years. And it's really very poignant and very significant that these items are now back in Croke Park almost 100 years after the tragic events of Bloody Sunday.
My dear Mrs. Hogan, I am sending you some of poor Mick's hair. I cut it off in the hospital and thought you would like to have it. You have a terrible cross, but I know you will bear it bravely. Poor Mick's death, while playing a game, has created terrible horror, and all Ireland are in sympathy with you today. Dublin is full of mourning relatives. I suppose this week will never be forgotten. Those were the words of Baby Brown, who was a neighbour of the Hogans in Tipperary, and she was writing from Dublin to Mrs. Hogan, my great-grandmother, in the aftermath of Bloody Sunday. And the catty that's mentioned in the letter is my granny, so my mammy's mother. So Mick Hogan is my granduncle. He's my granny's brother. He died here in Croke Park on Bloody Sunday. He was the only player to die during the shootings, and it's an honour, I suppose, for me as a family member to be working here as part of the commemorations. The letters are from really everybody who wanted to get in touch with the Hogan family to Mrs. Hogan, who was a widow herself. So they're all mostly addressed to her, some to Michael Hogan's sisters, my granny included. And these are only some of the letters that were found. So these letters, which are part of the exhibition here, I suppose are a really interesting insight into the thinkings and emotions of people around Bloody Sunday, particularly those directly impacted. So these letters were given to us by the Hogan family, so cousins of mine, who found them in Michael Hogan's home house in Grange Moakler. So we're delighted to have them on loan here to us to form part of the exhibition. I think they're very emotional. Personally, obviously, my granny is mentioned in the letters, so that really gives me a personal connection to it. But the language that's used, for men of the time, in the early part of the 20th century, you wouldn't expect them to be so emotional, but you've men talking about weeping and crying. The GAA Museum is the focal point for all of the commemorations around Bloody Sunday, because we are here in Croke Park where Bloody Sunday occurred. So the exhibition is the centrepiece really of everything we've been doing for the year. We've had a series of events starting with a summer school earlier in the year. We've got lectures which have moved online, and they're still available for people to access. And we're also working on some education pieces now which primary and secondary school students can access virtually as well.
This is an important exhibition for the GAA Museum because the events of Bloody Sunday are synonymous with Croke Park and are interwoven with the history of Croke Park and the GAA. It is an event that is of national significance, and our role here in the museum was to retell that story, bring it to the fore again, and importantly remember the 14 people who lost their lives here in Croke Park on that day. And we really hope that people, once restrictions allow, will get the opportunity to come here and see the exhibition and to learn. And I suppose the objective of the exhibition and the programme of events that we've put in place is that people learn and remember as well. The museum team have been working on the exhibition and the programme of events for almost 2 years now. It's something that was really important to us to do really well. And we feel that everything that we've put in place covers all aspects of Bloody Sunday. There's something for everybody to engage with. And we wanted to, I suppose, do a really good job to honour the 14 people who lost their lives.